this is a real soca parang, alright? So I want everybody to get together and do something nice. Eh? Lesson, you ready? Let me go! It's painting time!
Cantamos Manzanares, cantamos Cerro, cantamos mucha gaita, cantamos Aguinaldo. Cantamos Manzanares, cantamos Cerro, cantamos mucha gaita, cantamos Aguinaldo.
Tocamos parangabina con cuatro y guitarra, con violín y con bandola, con bajo, con maraca. Tocamos
Trinidad and Tobago, I wish all of you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. As for the CARICOM leaders that currently exist, Gaston Brown, Skerrit, Mia Motley, fire burn all ole, especially the PNM new opposition leader, Keith Christopher Rowley. Fire burn you too. All they want to dictate to our government what we should do as regards to CARICOM. Our Prime Minister knows exactly what she's talking about. She has been unequivocal. She has stated clearly that she will back the U.S. government against Maduro government, where 8 million of the Venezuelan people, they have fled the country under Maduro. She has also stated Trinidad and Tobago, I wish all of you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. As for the CARICOM leaders that currently exist, Gaston Brown, Skerrit, Mia Motley, fire burn all ole, especially the PNM new opposition leader, Keith Christopher Rowley. Fire burn you too. All they want to dictate to our government what we should do as regards to CARICOM. Our Prime Minister knows exactly what she's talking about. She has been unequivocal. She has stated clearly that she will back the U.S. government against Maduro government, where 8 million of the Venezuelan people, they have fled the country under Maduro. She has also stated that she's in line with any U.S. policy that stops the drug flow into Trinidad and Tobago, the human trafficking as well. So said, so done. The people of Trinidad and Tobago feel safer under Kamla Persad Bissassa. Crimes are down. The murder rate is down drastically. Drug use, drug flow down. And all they want to tell us that we don't have our job. You want to tell Kamla Persad Bissassa she's not in line with all this zone of peace nonsense? When I see a zone of war for the last 10 years under the PNM, by fire burn you, Keith Christopher Rowley, fire burn you, Gaston Brown, you and a Hitler mustache. Fire burn all you go on behind, after all you come out all yourself and try to tell the US all kind of thing about all you sign with Maduro. That's what they say. Don't say all they didn't say that. From the time if it's a war between two parties, and you siding with one party, then you're against the next party. Don't come with your specious remarks, Gaston Brown, that you ain't saying nothing against the U.S. But you side with Maduro. So that means you're automatically against the U.S. You're a kind of fool or what? All you showing to the Caribbean people is that fools, liars, and jackasses like Rowley could still be in this game. You're a clown. You came out against the U.S. and now had to go back and beg behind CARICOM back to make sure that your people are right. Because you know they'll take a turn in your backside, Gaston Brown. Hey, don't feel it disrespecting our Prime Minister or disrespecting this government. When you and Skerrit and all your old boys club watch Rowley take Trinidad and Tobago down the rabbit hole. Why they didn't come out and talk to him? Why didn't ask Rowley why he didn't close the borders? Why he didn't stop the drug trafficking by the 1%? Why didn't do that? All they come out now and want to talk about this government? Hey, check all your own, inside all your own countries. All in a mess. All in a mess in Dominica. All in a mess. Gaston Brown in Antigua, Barbuda. Mia Motley place in a mess. Mia Motley, you have questions to answer? You, with your big self. You have questions to answer concerning Brent Thomas. I want to know. I want to know who ordered that. Don't feel again away just so. I find all they feel like a jump out. All they feel a little Indian woman weak. All they wrong. All they wrong. I could be asking all they some questions. Gaston Brown, you slow your roll big time. You slow your roll big time. Don't try and be duplicitous right now. You came out against America, then had a double back, and go and beg America to raise the restrictions. Do what you have to do for your people. Don't tell our Prime Minister what she have to do for hers. You understand? We going fine. The people of this country feeling safer. They're seeing some hope under this government. So stay in all the lane. All you have to deal with us. Mia Motley, your questions to answer. Don't feel like you're stirring up things behind the scenes and then playing like you understand. You're moving like Coleman Burt. Marvin Gonzalez, how come I hear nothing from Ole about the US anymore? Ole want to make sure Ole can still go to the US, eh? Ole set up all them chin begonias to talk about the US. What a pity. People who is talk, but don't put their money or their lives or their personal wealth where their mouth is. That is all it is, PNM. That is what all it is, Gaston Brown. Ole come out big and bad and say Ole for liberalization. Ole against US imperialism. Ole didn't do that. Ole go on begging to get visa restrictions lifted. A bunch of CARICOM hypocrites. Hey, Ole tend to Ole countries. Ole countries are a mess. We doing our thing here. Well done, Kamala Prasad, Disasa. You have our full support, the support of the people of Trinidad and Tobago. Don't study all them international relations buffoons who feel they could come and talk about international relations and have no idea how nuanced it is. They have no idea how nuanced it is. Just a bunch of crap all they talking, Anthony Bryan or Brian, whatever your name is. A bunch of frauds. We doing all right. The people in Trinidad and Tobago feel safer. And that is what matters. Trinidad and Tobago, I wish you all a Happy New Year. My CARICOM brothers and sisters, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Sort out all the frauds that lead in all the country. Gaston Brown, Skerrit, Mia Motley. Sort them out. We sorted ours out. Rolly gone. He back as opposition leader now. Penny realized that stage a Balize House coup. Hey, Trinidad and Tobago, loving the house from the general all the time.
Good evening. Good evening. Welcome everyone to Yellow Zuko program on UNC USA. So we have here with us our civil engineer, Mr. Ken Dalchan. We have the other guys who will join us later on in the program. Everyone is attending various events. It's the festive time in the country. And we are partying here on UNC USA channel. So Ken, there is absolutely no way that our prime minister or we in Trinidad and Tobago shall allow CARICOM to dictate what we should or shouldn't do. CARICOM, for me, is part and parcel of what's been happening throughout the Caribbean because they were not very effective. You can't really chastise the wrongdoers if you are part and associated in some way or the other with those that are wreaking havoc throughout the Caribbean. What has been happening in Trinidad spilled over from other islands. It was happening there first, before us. Most of these things were happening there before it reached our island. This island trade and transaction between trafficking, human trafficking, drug trade, organ trafficking between the South American countries and the islands. What going on elsewhere before it reached Trinidad. Far as I'm concerned,
That's correct, Gary.
and I see CARICOM
And
as a PNM party group. And if you
yeah,
notice,
and
they're ganging up. They all
mhm.
working in cahoots. They're showing their colors.
Well, then also they're exposing themselves because when the drugs come to Trinidad, right, and they refuel their boat and they drop off whatever they have to drop off when they restock, right? The saying is that they continue up the islands. They don't just go straight and direct to the US mainland, somewhere in Florida or Key West, right? They stop out in some of these islands and they drop off their drugs. And who knows, maybe these governments who are very vocal knows about the problem and allegedly facilitate this drug trade up the islands, right?
I think they're
But
under
coming
pressure.
back,
That's why they're doing.
to us in Trinidad, we've always said, I mean, it's evident that Trinidad is just 7 miles off the coast of Venezuela. the impact that we are feeling on the island is much greater than on these other Caribbean islands in the CARICOM. They can only talk and whistle and talk about the UN convention and this and that, right? But they don't have to deal with the influx of Venezuelan immigrants, of drugs and guns, right, coming across a porous border, for almost a decade. That has put us tremendous strain across all sectors in Trinidad and Tobago. They don't have to deal with that problem. So they want to come and preach and talk about what is morally right and so forth. I mean, we with regards to the U.S. presence there, but we have all these different agreements. We have the SOFA agreement, right? We have the ACSA agreement, right, where we can share expertise and resources with the U.S. military, U.S. Department of Defense, right? That really has every right to be there because we have an agreement for that to be in place there. Now, look,
But
at the
you
end of
know,
the
it's
day,
amazing. This is a surveillance equipment. This is not an attack equipment. This thing is there to increase our security, to advance, to enhance our ability, and it is threatening people so much. That is to show you exactly which side they're on. Go ahead.
that is correct, right? And look, at the end of the day, the US, we don't want to get directly involved and tell them how to deal with Venezuela. That's the US and Venezuela, right? But given the fact that we have agreements with the US, we have to facilitate certain things, right? With logistics, with the supplies,
But
services.
Ken, the thing about it, there's a dual purpose mission in our region here. The U.S. is doing two things. They're assisting Trinidad and Tobago with its national security issue, and they're addressing their concern over in Venezuela and the rest of the Caribbean. It's not just
Correct.
Venezuela. They are
Correct.
fully engaged. If you look at the vessels, they are throughout the Caribbean. They're not just one part of the
Yeah,
Caribbean.
yeah,
They're all over the
yeah.
place.
They're in the international waters, right? So look, at the end of the day, Trinidad is poised to benefit, and we are seeing the benefits right now with regards to the illegal drugs, right? The cocaine and the marijuana and stuff. Look over the past week how much drugs we have confiscated, like in a short period of time. This is millions, right? So I think it's a big plus for us, with regards to crime and our porous borders and illegal guns and drugs coming in and out of the country. So, so yes, an important point made by the senator here with regards to 8 million people fleeing Venezuela, right? 8 million people don't just get up and leave their country for no apparent reason, you know. And part of that 8 million, we have absorbed some of that in our little island. And, we're not discriminating against the Venezuelan people. There are many of them who, come to try to work hard and better their lives like anybody else who's fleeing from persecution and stuff like this, political persecution and stuff like this. But there are others also who are not vetted, who weren't vetted, right? Because we had a government, the PNM government, allow the borders, fell asleep behind the wheel when it comes to protecting the borders. We had all those Coast Guard ships, right, boats parked in Chagaramas there, doing nothing, you know, when they were supposed to be out and about intercepting drugs, intercepting these migrants and having a structure in place to vet them properly so we could know who's coming in, who's leaving, and what type of goods they're bringing into the country. Whether they're bringing in infected livestock, right? Because there were some instances where I think the Ministry of Agriculture had to intercept a boatload of goats and livestock, right? Um, then there's around Christmas time the issue of wild meat coming into from Venezuela, right? We don't know if this meat is tainted or if it's contaminated and so forth. So yeah, this is a failure when it comes to protecting the border, right? And the checks and balances. But again, the prime minister is on the right track. We support her all the way 100%, right? Because we want to see a better Trinidad and Tobago for all, not just PNM or UNC, for all Trinidadians, right? Because this is our island. And I believe the opposition leaders are the real villains here because they want to create some mischief by saying that there's a U.S. military base. They were trying to sell that narrative, right? Blaming the U.S. for their presence, their military presence here. You know, uh, no, Dr. Rowley is saying that we have violated some UN convention or treaty to that effect, right? I don't think we have violated anything. We are not involved. That yeah, again, that is a situation between Venezuela and the US, right? But the SOFA agreement and the acquisition of cross servicing agreement, right? We have these things in place here to work with the US to share knowledge, experience, service, logistics, all this other stuff. You know. So yeah, Gary. We saw in the Guardian newspaper recently, I believe it was today or yesterday, where there's a picture of the radar with the logistics and the tents and stuff there, and they're calling it a base. Now, is that really a base? Is that a US military base there? So at some point in the program, we'll have our US military expert, and we want him to give us a briefing from his perspective because he has close to about 20 years in the US Army, right? He's been all over the world, Afghanistan, Kosovo,
Yeah, but
Korea.
the thing about it is, would they feel they're going to just put the radar there and leave it? You have to
No,
man it. You need a certain
and
amount of crew, and that's a very small crew
that
compared to what
exactly.
I've seen there. A very
It
small
requires
crew.
manpower resource to service it, to
I
collect the
would love
data,
to have a base.
right?
You know, you and I talk about that. I would love to have a Navy base there because that would help us to keep things, in perspective.
And
Um,
I believe with this drug trade now, look, this is not a little parlor we're dealing with here. This is a multi-billion-dollar industry that's well established all around the world, right? And you need someone or something like the US military with that type of equipment and manpower and expertise to track and to intercept, right? These drug traffickers. Because this thing will not stop. The day the US pulls out of Trinidad, we're back to square one, right? Because this drug trade is a multi-billion-dollar industry, and
Look,
it's not going to just go away.
we run on the pretext that we was going to do what it takes to secure the country. Our prime minister is leading that charge, and with all the propaganda that we see taking place, um, it just shows clearly where people are, and why we were for 10 years dealing with excessive kidnapping, a lot of families missing and cannot be accounted for, and we see how quickly those boats can go over that 7 to 9 miles stretch there between Venezuela and us. I mean, there's what, like 4 inches in some of these boats there, at a
Yeah,
very high speed, maybe 40, 45 miles an hour. It doesn't take much time for them, and at one point we discovered there was a mini sub, but all the Caribbean and CARICOM leaders here who wants to chastise the US is all dependent. Their economy is all dependent on the United States. They are dependent on American tourists coming there. They are dependent on American supplies supplying their country. They are dependent on the US to respond should there be any major security issue. Is the US just keeping those like Russia and China, all them people at bay, in the sense that they do not proceed with their military ambition towards the Caribbean waters? Is the US is keeping them at bay?
that's correct. That's
So,
correct.
so I mean, people are trying to bite the hand that feeds them. I mean,
Yep.
as far as the U.S. military is concerned and what they're doing, I have 100% support for that, and it's something that we needed very much. And our prime minister warned everybody not only to, not to badmouth the U.S. and mess up your chance of, coming back and forth into the United States, because most that's the way you travel the most. That's where you buy most of your stuff. Everybody's proud to go to Florida, Miami, and here and there part of the U.S. and they're always boasting and taking pictures, and we're all happy to do that. We don't go anywhere else mostly. So to watch your tongue on an aspect of things. We who live here in the US might have some disagreements on how things are operating, but the overall picture here is that what is being done in the Caribbean, far as security is concerned, has our utmost support. It's very much needed, and there's no country can help us do what we're doing there. You know.
You're absolutely correct, Gary. And talking about the Caribbean, right? A lot of these islands, if not All of them. They don't have the petrochemical hydrocarbon exports, right? Like us. So they depend solely on tourism, from Europe and the United States. So if you want to do a survey or collect the data, they have hundreds of thousands of tourists, venturing their shores. Um, I was in St. Lucia and in Castries there. I witnessed close to 4 cruise ships, right? There were like 2 or 3 of them parked, already boated. And one of them, I just they were waiting to pull in, and one was just pulling out, you know. So this is like this tourist industry is like the cash cows, these cruise ships and stuff. So when you start about the hand that feeds you, and as you mentioned here, that's going to create a problem at some point. If the US decides that, hey, let's restrict visa entry to the US and vice versa, you know. Um, so you don't want to get blacklisted, right?
Yeah,
Again,
but just imagine we decided no, all the big bad and tough role he was playing when the end of the day, what did he end up signing when the US came to him with it? Right?
it's the
What
SOFA
did he sign?
agreement.
What did he sign? Let him not
It's
sign. Why did
yeah.
he? Why did he resign before the election and run away from the fight? He should have taken Kamala. He was so big and bad. Why did he put the small puppy there to face Kamala?
Well,
If you were so big and bad,
he
you
probably
were the
smelled
big
the
bad dog
defeat.
in the yard all these years. So why did you stand up? Why you run away from the fight for?
He smelled the defeat, right?
Yeah.
Because I don't know if you could probably have a government who could, really still be in power, right? Compared to what they did over that past decade, you know, I don't think they would have been granted extra next 5 years again, in 2022. And I keep repeating this over and over because it's a very, very significant, important piece of data, right? We had the highest homicides in the history of Trinidad and Tobago, 624. Now, Dr. Ramrup made a very interesting point yesterday, right, with regards to the trauma registry, right, and how that data is entered on there, right? And I was just thinking, it just crossed my mind, if we were to collect all of the data and scrub that data, and let's say out of 3,000 persons treated for trauma, 1,000 were gunshot wounds, right? They were victims of a violent crime, home invasion, and they were shot and wounded. Now, let's assume that 50% of them were to die, right? That is extra 500 persons who could have died. And those numbers could have been added to the 624. So we could be well over 1,000 homicides, right? Assume that person were treated for a gunshot wound, happened to die, you know. So I mean, the level of violence we saw over the years, how it has decayed over this past 10 years, and there's no urgency or effort from the PNM government to address the matter. You know, when you're talking about crime, I remember I was looking at the security council, and one of the senator was asking the coal pot guy regarding police committing crimes. And he said, he had no evidence of that. Bring the evidence. Let me see it. In a very arrogant, manner. And the way he sort of dismissed her, like, hey, you don't bring this stuff to me. Like he's talking down to her in this condescending manner. So these guys didn't care about where the country was headed in terms of crime and criminal activity, right? And they have the record now to support the fact that they were the worst of the worst. It's Gerald Hines and the guy with the coal pot, senior counsel, right?
The
They're the worst of the worst
TTPS was starved for
of
funds.
resources.
It was not properly managed by because of the people that the PNM kept in the police force. Everybody brought their friends and family and associates. People was not promoted by merit and qualification and good performance. It was either some kind of connection. We have far too many people who have been performing in the police force exceptionally well, doing real good work, and they find themselves among people who are strangling them you know, and supervisors with their buddies or whatever, and you see other people getting promoted. There's been a few cases where some of the officers had sued. You know, that is something we will have to pull up, you know, down the road, and you know, to bring up, you know. But definitely, look, we got the home invasion, stand your ground, rights to defend yourself within your property, where you are not required to retreat, but you are entitled to use full force. And I don't see, you know, how is it that anybody in their right mind could ask you to retreat inside your house and somebody come into your house very aggressively, and you are ambushed by a person entering your house, and you must retreat. And the PNM maintained and kept these laws and rules to have you under restraint. Look how much difficulty to get the fuel under the PNM. Look how much difficulty to get cars, you know, for the police under the PM. They let everything was totally mismanaged. So everything that we're trying to fix is costing the taxpayers more than it should really have been costing. You know what I mean? So let me play this video here of our senator who was here with us last night, Mr. Brian Baig, Senator Brian Baig. Listen to his contribution in the Senate.
Senator Brian Baig.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I rise today in this honorable House to present my contribution to the Home Invasion, Self-Defense and Self-Defense of Property Bill 2025. Mr. President, before I get into my contribution, I will seek leave to refer to my notes, as I have some technical information to raise. Further to that, Mr. President, I am battling a cold, so now and then you will hear me just cough a bit. But before I get in, Mr. President, you know, I listened attentively to my good friend opposite, Senator Boodoo. Well, there are a few things that he said that I saw to jot down. I mean, he took us on a ride from Chagaramas to Ikakas, but I don't think his vehicle reached anywhere. Mr. President, he talked about that this bill does not aid the police or does not aid the DPP. Mr. President, it is unfortunate I don't think the senator read this bill properly. This bill has clauses in it that has penalties where the police and the DPP can rely on to bring persons to justice. So it shows he did not read this bill properly. He came talking about firearm. Well, I want to tell him this has nothing to do with firearms. This bill has to do with citizens protecting themselves and citizens standing their ground and defending themselves from perpetrators coming into their homes. But that is the narrative they want to bring. That is the narrative they're trying to bring. But sadly, he didn't bring it. Mr. President, I am here today in this House, not just as a sitting member of this government. I am not in this House only as a lawyer. Mr. President, I sit here as a victim of a home invasion. I also am the nephew of a person who was murdered because of a home invasion. I'll get to that very soon. Mr. President, my view here today will also help my friends understand why this bill is important and why we need such a bill in the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. Mr. President, just a few years ago, in the middle of the night, 4 a.m. to be precise, my home was invaded. Worse yet, my bedroom, Mr. President, was invaded. The one place that you expect to be the most safe in is your bedroom. And Mr. President, what that person did to me and my significant other, it not only robbed us of valuables, it robbed us of the sense of security. It robbed me as a man being able to protect my home, Mr. President. To this day, Mr. President, I wake up every day at 3 a.m. the hour before that event. Because I think that man is still in my house. I want my friends opposite to hear this. What it does to a person like myself. The psyche upon a person, Mr. President. That event, Mr. President, it led to be one of the most horrific days of my life. Because you have to understand, my friends, a man's home is a place where he wants to be and feel safe. I had no choice but to put security alarms. I had no choice to now have 24/7 security. I had no choice to even bring the dogs from my mother's home to my home, to keep me safe, to keep my loved ones safe. Because I will never ever want to experience that ever again, Mr. President. I'm talking to you, Mr. President, and I'm feeling the trauma still. Mr. President, night after night, persons, not only myself, but other persons in this country has felt this, Mr. President. Mr. President, I have to say that this has done so much to me that when I speak about it, I tremble. Unfortunately, I don't think the members could see that my legs are shaking while I'm talking about it. Because when this happened, the only thing I could have done, Mr. President, is keep the person next to me, my significant other, most calm ever. Because a man was in our house, Mr. President, in my house. And you can't have two hysterical people at the same time. And then eventually, Mr. President, I was able to get to a phone, call the police, yes. I had to call the nearest person to my home, which is my mother, who has now passed on. This is not a nice feeling, Mr. President, to talk about. Because it hurts you immensely, Mr. President. Mr. President, I'm move on. In 2020 to 2025, Mr. President, I want to show you a bundle here. I want my friends to see this. You see this here? I want my friends to see this. This is every reported matter in the newspapers between 2020 to 2025. I'm sorry, the media is not in the house. That showed home invasions.
I know, just take a seat. Yeah, you know, if you need to display anything, you have a Sikh.
Yes.
So please, do not No, not now. You can't do that now. No, you can't do that now. You have to do that before you do it. Okay? Okay.
But Mr. President, I will talk about one incident that happened in Couva. It made news. An elderly pensioner by the name of Amina Mohammed was murdered from a home invasion. Now I could talk about it looking at it. There's a reason for that. Amina Mohammed is my aunt, my father's sister. This was a lady, Mr. President, who on a normal night preparing dinner for her husband, my Uncle Zam. Lo and behold, that'd be the last night that you would ever see him and live. Persons came into the home, Mr. President, broke into the home, bounded my uncle, who's a heart patient, recovering bypass surgery, tied him up to a chair, took her into a room, their bedroom. That was the last he ever saw of her. And she was murdered. Her throat was slit from ear to ear. But to the country, she was known as Amina Mohammed. But to me and my family, she was known as Auntie Angie. My family could not believe the news that came out that pensioner in Couva killed. And the name Amina Mohammed came across. But we all just say, no, that can't be Auntie Angie. It's until DJ Sheriff posted it on social media, posted her picture, that's when we realized it was our aunt. Mr. President, it was one reason I am here today, is to talk about that. And I dedicate my contribution to her today. Because I say, before I leave this world, I must come and talk about her. And I'll talk about her in the place where this bill will be passed and must be passed. If it's one thing, honor this person and let us have this law. Don't let her die in vain.
Welcome, Dr. Maraj. So
Oh, how are you?
that was our goodly senator that was here last night
Yeah.
in his contribution
It's the
in
guy
the
from last
Senate.
night, right?
Yes,
With
He's
that,
the
yes,
Dr.
senator
Maraj?
from last night.
yes.
Yes, Dr. Big. I'm sorry, Senator Big.
Okay. Yeah, he was a nice guy. He spoke well last night. I mean, he answered my question and he was cool. And he laughed about it as well. And he
You know, he made some
did
effort.
some
He
jokes.
wasn't feeling too well. He
I don't
still
know
did
him.
me the favor of coming on.
Yeah, I don't know him at all. I never heard of him.
I, I heard of the
So it was
incident though with
my.
his aunt. That
Say
was
again?
a horrific thing. I read of the incident with his aunt, Amina
Oh,
Mohammed, who was the
right.
pensioner whose throat was slit in the presence of her husband. I mean, that is as graphic as you can get. Imagine having to experience that and live through that way your significant other is viciously murdered like that. Right. So the way he spoke there was a lot of emotion there, you know, and he has every
Yeah.
right to. Has every right to, you know. I mean,
Well,
the only thing
had I known that last night, I would have identified with him because I mentioned this to you all a few times. We never took, maybe you all don't remember, but my sister was at her daughter in Valsayn. That's in not this last January, not this January. January gone, yes. La- Not this year, January. I forgot what year. Last year, January. And my my my, my niece-in-law, well, she's my grandniece really, which is my niece's daughter, and her father bought my home here. And while they were in the sky, like they left here, the plane must have boarded the plane around before 4. While they were in the air, they were invading their home in Valsayn. They left my home here, and they were not at home. These two of them, but the other three of them were there, which is her brother, my sister, which is my niece's mother, and my niece. They all got beaten up and robbed and kicked and cuffed and well, you name it. They were sure swollen face and everything. They get beaten up badly. Um, so that emotion that he's referring to there, I could identify with that because I mean, I wasn't there in Trinidad. I heard about it the very night. I think they called me and let me know how terrible it was. And this was six of them. This is, I mean, he's talking about one person in his house, but this is an invasion of six young men. Like they know who they could see their faces. Some of them had on masks, but a couple of them who didn't have on anything. And they came with their guns and blazing, and I don't know, they fire any shots in the air. That's the one I told you about last. They said the police took 40 minutes and they come in from right in St. Joseph, which is just across the St. Joseph River right there, which is what they walking, they will reach there in 20, 30 minutes. So they're waiting on a vehicle to come. They could have jump on a bicycle and come down the damn road. No, they waited for a vehicle. They had no vehicle, they said. So that those terrible things. I identify what this gentleman, this honorable senator was saying today and tonight. I feel for him. I understand. Yeah.
yeah.
But I get a worry, but he sounds a bit emotional. I wonder if you could be clear enough to make an objective opinion. You sound so emotional. Because, in this law business, you have to be separate your emotions
Well,
often to get
well,
the,
no,
the
it's
best.
all. He also was a victim, the
Yeah,
of a home invasion. So,
yeah,
I
he
mean
was a
that is
victim. Yes,
trauma on top of trauma.
right, sure. I
So
understand. Yeah,
when he spoke there, anyone who have been through that, look the
yeah,
his aunt here.
yeah.
Anyone who are a victim of this level of violence,
Mm,
you know, that you're scarred for life. And when
Mhm.
you're presented the opportunity to talk about this, obviously it has to be very emotional, as we
Mhm.
saw with the good Senator Brian Bake there. And he spoke very well, right?
Yeah.
And he
And
dedicated that to his aunt, who
yeah,
we are seeing here right now.
and what I had also said it up, I gave it. This was published in the checklist. The nice I don't know if you're going to put your hand on that checklist. I wrote the article on this guy about that because I used anonymous information because I wanted somebody to know what's really going on there, really. So I gave it like an inside scoop kind of thing. So they published in the checklist. That was I think I was sent it to the Trinidad Guardian, but they won't that's the place I usually publish my work. But they usually those kind of things. They were in cahoot with all those 1%. I don't know. We don't talk about them right now. It was published a nice article. If anybody want to take a look at what I wrote, this because you see what happened is my sister who got a big iron, I don't know how big bracelet for my mother. My mother would have got it from her mother. So to come 3 generations down and somebody stole a bracelet, which hit me home because that was my mother's bracelet, which she got from her mother, which my sister inherited, and some bandit came and take it from her in their own house and beat them up and take it away. This is generation of this is a destruction. This is homicidal of a generation. Because if they're taking things that your great grandparents gave to you, who must have bought it from who know the thing from India? They had gold in India a long time ago. Stuff remember come over to Trinidad, gold coming from India.
And
So
today,
it's no doubt
you
that,
can't get gold like that. You can't even get that quality of gold.
no. The gold was kind of
Well,
reddish. Her gold
well,
was kind of reddish. It was not really
uh,
yellow, red,
other than the
looking
goal,
reddish. A
other than the
reddish gold,
goal,
yes.
yeah, other than the
Yeah,
goal, that is priceless. There's no price tag on that. Imagine that came down from generations. So
yes,
there's no price
yes,
tag on that. You could value the goal, whatever troy
yeah,
ounce or whatever, but that
yeah.
sentimental value and that piece
That's
of
right.
jewelry
That's
making its
exactly what I
way,
wrote.
its journey,
Exactly
right?
what I wrote in that
And then
paper
was
that time.
viciously ripped away
Yeah,
from being passed on to the next
yeah,
generation, right? By
yeah,
some bandit and home invaders who came in running there, right? 3, 4 guys running there, just pick up this thing like it's a piece of object,
yeah.
right? And then
And and
violate
and
you.
and they couldn't throw the stuff out, so they stole the car at the same time. So they came with one vehicle and they went away with two. Their own vehicle and
Yes.
the horse vehicle too.
So
Because they
the
took the safe away. That safe
yes,
where they have all the jewel and foreign exchange cash. They lost a good bit of money in the process because people were saving in foreign exchange. They save it for whatever data come. That's how Trinidad people save money. They save foreign exchange cash. They don't give that away like that. I mean they don't use it. They keep it for whatever day the children want to go to study in England. They have enough cash. They want to come mainly for the children to do further studies and all of that. That's why they save in the foreign exchange. It's not because they want to buy a table and a chair and a refrigerator and a TV. If they want saving for the children, so if they have to go abroad to study, which they will, which I think one of them is going to England to do something. One of the daughter, so they are dentists and medical doctors there. So that's where they're going to spend the money to upgrade themselves. Right, the other spending money in contracting the Venezuelan and the Colombian and whoever again for marijuana. Our family is using the funds to further themselves, to educate themselves, so they could make a better contribution to Trinidad and Tobago, and themselves and Trinidad and Tobago. Because every more educated person you have in Trinidad is Trinidad gains. Because that's how I hear some of you talk about human resources, the great resource, which I don't 100%, I don't believe that in that too much, but because these days with computer and robotology and technology and thing, I mean, human being is secondary. We're creating robots to do a sort of stuff that human being replacing them. So human being are not so great as they used to be before. Um,
Well, Doc, if you
but
think
what you
about it,
I
it's
don't
how
mean
we
that.
manage it.
Yeah, I don't mean in that negative way, but I mean that the reality is, my AI friend, he might help me out here. My AI friend didn't show up yet, but he might help me more on this
Yeah, he coming
AI
later.
talk.
Yeah, but what I'm saying, right? The technology we are supposed to manage in technology, not let the technology
Right.
manage us. Now,
That's right. That's good.
the other thing what's happening, you have corporate greed. So, corporations are more after how much how less they can spend. Obviously, you're a finance professor, and how much
Yeah.
they can gain. And
Yeah.
I mean, our prime minister is operating on human capital. She's here to invest in human beings. She is here for the people. So if you notice how she operates, she's turning around things to benefit the people. Now, I mean, in this time around, the job is harder for her than 2010, right? Because of the level of the economic damage, and she has to pull the country out. But we are making progress. I mean, things are not moving as quickly as some of us would like to see, and that is because of the level of serious of economic damages. But we things will turn around. It will, because that's our, we have a team of several teams of people that's working on turning our economy around, and you won't see that up front. They're not going to spell out everything in the public domain, but they will bring the results eventually. We will see that. Next year this time around, you'll see a vast difference. But go ahead, Doc.
Yeah. 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 I'll come to that in a moment. Since you all raised and since Senator Big made that contribution and identify with my situation at home, and I was making a point that people invest in their human resource. You know what my parents used to tell me? You see, they make me work in the garden because I had to go and do my chores in the morning. And we had cattle, we had goats, we had cows, we had fowl, we had everything. And we had garden, we had corn and rice and cane and sugar cane. So all these things. You had to do your chores in the morning before you go to school and come back in. You're busy from 6 o'clock in the morning until dark in the night, even though you're going to school. So they instill with that kind of work ethic. So that I still look around to see, even now at my age, I still look around to see what have I accomplished today. So I look back and say, what did I do today? And I could account for it. So they make it sure that they used to tell us, hit drive, you say, listen, you see how hard we're working here? Try our best and don't have to work a little hard, less hard, and work hard, but not the kind of hard work we have to do here, which is really rain, sunshine, and everything. With the kind of barefooted, and you don't have equipped with gloves, and barefoot and barehanded is even worse. Um, so they kind of so that kind of instill in a generation of people that they wanted to be better than their parents, and the children has to be better than, and that continues. And the reason why many of us migrated is because the land of opportunity was not present for us. I would have still been in Trinidad had the opportunities were available, but there was not enough opportunities for me. The doors were closed. And even though I was in the police, I think I spent 5, 6 years there. I was doing pretty good over there, but you were still discriminated against, subtly discriminated, even though it was not being shown, but you could know this is not really me. Like I was at Trinidadian, but like I didn't belong. So that kind of a feeling that I'm outsider. So what the hell am I doing here? So that led me to my thesis was that I was originally intended to come to North America or maybe Europe. So from India to Trinidad, I'm back to where I really supposed to be, which is either my parents couldn't come here because they didn't allow them. In many cases, it was not the transshipment didn't happen here too much, although the Chinese did come and the Japanese later. But the Indians really went because of the British connection in the Caribbean islands and Mauritius and Fiji and in some other areas that in South Africa and the Indians went there. And even though they went there and better themselves, because that is who they are. That is their psyche. That is their biological and DNA to get ahead in life. You see Indians fighting Indians, understand this is not because they hate each other. This is the entrepreneurial spirit at war. Because competition means I have to get ahead of you. because they may not be not enough for every. It might be at a mediocre level. They might be enough for us. But then if I have to get ahead and be an employer of people, I have to get ahead of you. So if you see the coast of the Kalapani, which is where the Indians pull each other down, they were really pulling it because some of the Indians thought they would reach in 2 days time or 10 days time but really after 90 days you're still traveling and you know where the hell you're going. So you get frustrated and you wanted to jump overboard and kill yourself. And then some of your Jahaji will pull you back down and say, hey, don't kill us, don't do that. They pull him down. So that pulling down of Indian is part of the psyche from the Kalapani, crossing the Kalapani to come to the West Indies and wherever they went again. So I'm making this point because you're all talking about human resource and development and so on. And really, I was telling you that I really don't mean it so seriously, but I'm telling you, I wrote that paper 30 years back, that the worker is an endangered species. It was not bad as it used to be. They were just introducing mechanization and then automation. And I was saying that very soon you don't need workers anymore because you have all these kind of machines will replace people, human beings, and so on. So I said the workers are endangered species. So there goes the argument about the greatest resource we have is the human resource. That's a 20th century thing, really. The 21st century, the greatest resource you have is how do you develop a robot to do everything that humans could do, including the AI. My friend AI would tell us he would jump off if I only hear talk about AI. He didn't hear yet, but if he come in tonight, he might be here. He may be listening. Yeah. So tonight, then I would want to jump back into. Are you all there, right? Anybody
Yeah,
leave?
Dr. Raj.
Oh, you're there because I'm not seeing anybody
Yeah.
show up.
No,
Okay.
I listen. Go ahead.
Okay, so tonight then we really because about 4 months ago when I criticized the CARICOM, not knowing what the Honorable Prime Minister will be saying eventually, but what she is saying is something what I said previously, because I was making the point that the average is a regression towards mediocrity. So the CARICOM is the average. The specialty is like Trinidad and Tobago. They're talking about Trinidad. I see I see I think Gary called the gentleman tonight or about one of the Antigua president, one who says the mustache like Hitler. I think he was one of those guys, prime ministers of the West Indies somewhere. The thing about CARICOM is that Trinidad still, you know this thing. I think some of you mentioned this before. 42% of our imports come from the United States, and 38% go for exports go to the United States. CARICOM is just less than 15%. It used to be much bigger when we had all this oil and plenty oil and all. It used to be much larger. In recent years, it went down and down and down. Now Guyana is a big leader in terms of exports to the Caribbean, to the CARICOM countries. So Trinidad is dependent less and less and less on CARICOM. And I hope that the Prime Minister is looking at those figures and thinking that our future is very dim if we depend on CARICOM. And that back to my point. Because if Trinidad, which is what Trinidad's supposed to be doing, being the leader of the Caribbean, the Jamaica don't like that, but being the leader of the Caribbean, that if we rise, we'll pull them up together with us. So if Trinidad could get ahead, we'll make sure that Antigua come along, Grenada comes along, Barbados comes along, because the higher we climb, the more we'll take you up. But if you're trying to pull me down to the average, none of us will rise. Because all of us will stay at the average and below. And that is what the zone of peace talk is. The zone of peace means we have peace, loving, kindness, calypso, reggae, blah, blah. Let's be happy and be merry. That's what the meeting is all about. They call these. I look at them last time there. Rowley was still the prime minister. I think he went to. I think they had it in Port of Spain or where like that. They always have some all over the world. They have them. That one time they have in Port of Spain, they drink the caviar, like I said, they eat the caviar, drink the brandy and drink the whiskey. I don't think any one of them drink a local but 19 rum there. I don't think they always make with whiskey and no, Mohit and Shandon, those VSOP and all the stuff they drink. I mean, there's hotels that have all the best whiskey in the world and the brandy come directly from France and all that. That's how all the number one. That's why they're having this. They have a good time. They drink up the champagne and they go home. And so we had a good meeting. What did you achieve? Never somebody was stuck in there, go put a report in how we discuss this. We discuss this, we discuss that, and the next time we'll be discussing this and discuss. The hell was it discuss? What are you doing to better the Caribbean? CARICOM. You have to let America to come and help you out to deal with the drugs. Where you been all this time? Where you all been? The 13, 14, how much countries they have? Okay, Haiti killing themselves. Where you all have been? But Haiti could not do a thing, got worse and worse and worse to the point where the government is almost useless. So when the gang running Trinidad would have headed in that direction if they don't intervene, which is what they're doing now. I'm not wishing that it would happen, but I was scared that Trinidad might get to what Haiti was like. Because if the gang being around and the gang man, you see the thing about the gang, they just see lucrative business, and you could get rich overnight by 2 or 3 hold up. Who the hell going to work all day for CPEP? Why am I going to work for CPEP for minimum wage when I could do two? I could go to Mr. Maharaj in Valsay in South and make a big haul and get 10,000, 20,000 US and 100,000 in gold and this and that and whatever they lost again, gold kind of silver and gold and watches and maybe they went with liquor. They maybe have maybe thief and the liquor and go with it because somebody have whiskey and then they go with all of that. So I don't know. I mean, this crime in Trinidad is a lucrative business because the risk of being caught is very low. Why would I put my stock into the stock market? Why would I invest in the stock market when I could lose all my money in the stock market? It's better I go to crime. I'm gives an assertion. But I go to crime where nobody will hold me. Because crime, if you can't arrest the person who's doing this thing, and you have a field day for doing your robbery and your thief and your home invasion, and you're getting away with it. Well, it's easy. You could live a nice life, or you make only 2 days out, 2 like that for the year, and you're cool. You're good for the whole year. Why go and work every day, showing up 8 to 4, take a taxi or travel all the way, come back home for minimum wage when you could just do 2 robbery and you're good for the year? I am saying that this is the philosophy behind criminals. I'm not saying people do that. If you have a criminal intent, you think looking out to make money overnight.
Well, Dr. Maraj, the gold bracelet you mentioned, right? Let's say that gold bracelet is about 6 ounce.
Right.
And the price of gold today, right? When I last checked was $4,521 a troy
Yes.
ounce.
Right.
Right? So if you times 6 by let's round it down to 4,500 an ounce.
Right.
That's $27,000 those guys picked up, and that's just one item, right?
Like one item only. Yeah.
So that bracelet alone is about $30,000. That gold
Yeah.
bracelet.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they picked up more jewelry, right?
Oh yeah, they did the rings and all along, everything in the safe gone. They had it wide open put in a safe because it's valuable. It's
So
not a cheap
one
thing you have
home
lying around.
invasion,
They put in a safe, and you have to and the safe is not. They have a key. They have a number to what do you call it? The code to open it is not. Doesn't have a key. It's a code you use to open the safe.
the one home invasion, they pick up more in excess of $100,000.
Why no more than that? Oh, more than that.
So
They were
just to be
counting, and plus they
conservative,
went to the vehicle too. They
right?
abandoned the vehicle. I think they found the vehicle back some days after.
So when these guys taste this type of money in such a short time, you think they want to
Yeah.
stop that? They will want to continue going and going and going because to work for $100,000, right? They probably take them
Yeah.
years to save that.
Yeah.
When you're running
Oh
into
yeah.
somebody's home in a matter of
Oh yeah.
10 minutes, you pick up
Yeah.
$100,000+ worth of stuff.
Well, I would say that it's invaluable, more than a million TT, more than a million TT for sure.
Well, look at that.
Guys, just keep an eye on your screen because the audience is making some comments and you could always respond to them.
Mhm.
So we have a guy here named Steve. He's saying that ramp up your Coast Guard. Should be a priority, and the 21st century technology does not require big investment. Is OPP so drone technology is a game changer. But we've been saying that all the time that the drones, is very effective. Just like
Yes.
we was trying to tell our police commissioner,
Yeah.
that the guys didn't have to go in the mosquito swamp and sit there. The drones could have been utilized, and then the
Right.
police comes in when they have thing in possession, where you could better navigate where these bandits are and where they're making the pickup from. You understand? And you could work your strategy if you utilize these drones.
Mhm.
With the police force needs a lot of training. Police force needs upgrade in management. I mean, there is no computer at the desk when you go to make a report. Gary Griffith had an app where you could make a report. You didn't have to go to the police station. You could do it from your phone. So, the thing about you have to go to the next station. You can't come to this one if it happened out another station, and this kind of nonsense has to stop. Long as I am saying that long as you make contact with an officer, whether he's on or off duty, we used to play tag, you is it, right? He is it. And he has to be mandated that should someone make contact with him, whether he's on or off duty, he has to address the report and call for help. Number one, you understand? So he may not have to say that he responds to this going further, but at least he has the responsibility to call in the incident, take a report, and call for backup. Right? You can't say you're off
Are
duty.
you
I am
referring
going
to
to ignore this or go to the station. You come to your station, listen into our next station. We have had too many incidents like that.
the one where they found the drug in the Parani swamp? Is that the one you're referring to?
Yeah, well, I'm referring to that, and I'm referring to how we manage things
Oh no,
in that how.
we're right. So I want to put something to you on the interesting comment being made by the listener, by the audience person here. Now, wh-
His name is Steve. Yeah.
right, Steve. What what is the purpose of discovering the drug that they found? I think I say 181, but let's use that big drug, 181 million in drug that they found in the swamp. My question is, didn't someone put that there, or did it fall from the sky? It did not. So that drug has an owner. The owner would not abandon it and leave it there. The owner will come back for it, or he would send somebody for it. Was there any way we could have waited it out? So we catch both. We get the exhibit and we get the owner or the handler or somebody who trying to move it, whoever it might be. But whoever come to move it, they are the owner. Was there any way that they could have, because we're interested in the drugs, yes, and taking it off the street. So if your assumption is to clear it off the street and move on, so that'll be left one less on the street, that will come back because the original maker of the drug and producer of the drug is still out there somewhere. So why just take this exhibit one out? Exhibit two will be coming in exhibit three. If you take the manufacturer of that exhibit that found its way into the Caroni swamp, you'll be killing two birds with one stone. You take it off the ground and you also take off the maker of it, and therefore this problem might go away. Maybe somebody is a tribe, but not that same person. Very often there's only 3 or 4 people involved with big people involved in these things. There's not a whole nation of drug dealers kingpins you're dealing with. There's a few handful of people you're dealing with. And they're very well high up in society and well connected.
Well, I mean,
But
Doc.
the
I mean, you
reason
and
why
I
you could
know.
find the exhibit, that is why you could find the exhibit and you couldn't find the owner. So the owner,
Well,
we discussed it the other night, that the owner is shielded away.
Dr. Maraj,
Yes,
the
sir.
COP mentioned the reason why he didn't have his men in the swamp there was because of the mosquitoes and the threat of dengue. So yeah, so what's your opinion or thoughts on that statement?
Oh, that crap talk. That crap, real crap. Listen
Yeah.
to me.
So
I lie down in Queens Park, Savannah. It's about 6, 7 hours a night, waiting for a rape to happen, which didn't happen. But I was like, I'm in the savannah, I'm in the mosquito biting, but we do this kinds of stuff. So mosquito tell me, you listen, you rub yourself and you put on gear and you go inside and you sit on your weight. Somebody said they had drones. You don't need to. I mean, Trinidad should have drones. Is cheap technology these days. They could pick up a drone and we could be monitoring this thing from somewhere and somebody moving, have a picture of who they're moving and following them. And the police is there waiting to catch them whenever they come out. I mean, and that stupid excuse them a mosquito bite and blah, blah, blah. Oh, I tell you, if you did in 1941, you talk about 1941. This is 2041. But they're 100. Whoever make that suggestion, 100 years behind. The swamp, forget mosquito. So, but the thief. So why the mosquito didn't scare why the thief didn't scare the mosquito?
Hey,
Why the
Doc,
culprit? Why did
my
he?
grandfather
So
used to use
he
petrol
fear
and oil.
mosquito, but you fear mosquito.
My grandfather used to mix petrol and oil to keep the mosquito away from him when he
Oh
had to
my
cut
God!
the.
You know, I hear some just like this stupidness about that you all raised last time and raised the night before. That this commissioner can sign 10 applications a year. Man, this is RoboPen. The RoboPen will sign that thing for you in 10 seconds. You don't
Yeah,
need
but
modern technology. You
the
commissioner hand already, you sign
investigation.
nothing.
i-
Automatic.
i-
I sign many times for our inspector on behalf of the inspector because the inspector said sign on my behalf. So I put FOR for inspector, so and so, and I sign my name, Ashfar Maharaj, PC, police constable, PC. So this thing about $10, I hear that crap, but that crap, all them is crap talk, all the mosquitoes, them is crap talk. All thing, but you get the exhibit, but you can't give me. I told you all the example. I was caught one night running along a thief. And the senior superintendent asked me, how is the court going? How the handle? He said, where is the prisoner? He asked me. You think he care about the prisoner? And that's the thing. Where's the prisoner? Really, you have to have the prisoner. Okay, you hang a cut, but where's the prisoner? So you have the exhibit. Where's the owner? Wait there until you get the owner. The owner will come one day for it. If he abandon it, well, too bad. You have to wait 2, 3 years and he come for it. Well, you could seize it and abandon it because how much time you could spend behind it. But again, as the audience person just mentioned, Steve, you could have drones in the sky monitoring, or up to now you should be monitoring that 20-something guns that they found buried in Lacano, Santa Cruz. That's if I say, well, somebody owned that damn thing. Why you all couldn't
and
sell
it's
that
not the
crap?
first time. It's not the first time.
Right now, that's right. That's right.
But what I'm
Sell
saying,
a
so
damn,
it's
sell a
something
scrap.
frequently happening. What you doing?
There's no sense to run away with the exhibit and if owner cannot be found. What purpose did I make? Yeah, okay, you take 21 guns off the street. Okay, it's true. But okay, that's a plus. But the better plus would be to get the owner and the guns. And then you really get
Don't
this
you
thing.
think the owner is being protected in some
That's the
fashion?
point. That is why that
it
is part
seems
of
that
it
way.
also. That is why
It
you could
seems
get the
that way.
Don't
exhibit.
play us for a fool, man. Come on.
Yeah, it seems that
And
way.
the same one the same protector who's protecting the owner is talking about the police can't go in there and hide it because the mosquito will bite the police. You won't bite the thief, but those mosquitoes hate police, but they like thieves. They don't bite thieves.
But
They only
then the thieves are better equipped to handle the swamp and all these rough terrains than the police service.
man. Yeah.
But you know,
There's
funny thing, eh? We also have a police unit in patrolling the swamp also.
But wait now, guys. But wait now. Listen, we need to hire some of them guys who grew up catching crab in the swamp for police,
yeah.
right? That's what
Yeah.
we need. Them guys who are accustomed to that terrain, and
Yeah.
grew up there. You know, the U.S. Marines has hired them guys who grew up in Louisiana in the swamp and thing. When you see them Marines and them, some of them fellas grew up in Louisiana and Florida in the swamp there and Texas. You know, and swamp and alligator don't mean nothing. Them just eat alligator. Alligator don't eat them. You know, but you know, coming back to we are 100 years behind with our level of thinking. You know, where we could have utilized by now, we should have been able to utilize the drone, and if we have the U.S. at our disposal, there could have given us some guidance. You know, with all those ship out there, I sure somebody could have picked up some kind of intelligence and you know, and give us who was bringing the drug. They must have some footage. And plus, the U.S. is if you get a little more up into the thing, they have satellite that is be taking image of it all the time. They could pull up these things exactly who was there, when they was there, you know, all this kind of thing. You know, but listen, I think we're being played with this kind of thing right now, to tell you the truth, and we need to see better from the TTPS. We need, you know, it's like you feel like you have some dinosaurs, really prehistoric dinosaurs that are managed in the force there, and you know, we need to see some greater intelligence
Well,
in dealing with.
well, you know, when I heard that excuse with the mosquitoes and stuff, I thought it was a joke. You know, they
I
should
have to
have
laugh
the
because that is a joke.
experience, the resources. You know, there's all sorts of a DEET and all this other stuff you could put in your clothes to repel mosquito repellent, bug repellent, right?
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
but if you're really serious about fighting drugs, then mosquitoes shouldn't deter you from getting the job done and apprehending the people who are involved in this drug trade, right? Again, I'm going to say it, once the US, if ever the US pulls out from the region and from Trinidad, we're back to square one, right? So yeah, we need a strong president. We need people who are seriously, who can
No, but yeah,
seriously
yeah.
combat.
Ken, you're right. That is true. But the United States cannot stay there forever.
This is
Or
why
else
we're
you back.
talking about a base. You know, we'd love to get a military base there, a
Yeah,
partnership.
because I'll tell you what will happen. Because we all living in the future, you know. We're not living in the past and we're not living in the present because today is gone, tomorrow is a new day. We have to predict what will happen tomorrow. That is what I teach and that is what I know. Now, tomorrow, the one day the state of emergency will have to go. One day, this, as you mentioned sometime before, that this matter will be settled between Venezuela and the United States and whoever again. We hope it's settled the best. We're always hoping for the best in that regard. And that we'll go back to our normal nation, doing what we do best, keeping our people safe, and that at some point in time, the UNC, however, how many dozens of years it will take, that the UNC is the last hope. We had a meeting. No, see, because I'm very consistent of what I've been saying over the past 6 months that I've been on with Gary in this program. This is the last, I am serious. This is the last hope for Trinbagonians. I believe in Trinidad and Tobago. I am not a racial person. I believe that everybody stand an equal chance. Hand in hand, we walking together down there to get everything done. And the number of friends I have in Afro Trinidadians and things, but I'm very close to them and they're very close with me. But they know where I stand and where I know where they stand. And so what I'm saying is that I'm not in this kind of a discussion. What I'm interested in, that this is the last hope for Trinbagonians to take this country back and put them in the right track where they become the gem of the Caribbean like they used to always be. This thing, and the reason why Jamaica never liked Trinidad, because Trinidad was winning the popularity contest among the CARICOM people. I'm surprised that CARICOM doesn't like Trinidad. They used to like them before. This should never be again. They always have a special likeness for Trinidad and Tobago. When you
No, no,
meet
no.
them
They
anywhere
like
outside,
what we have given them and what we could have given them. That's what they like.
that's the hypocrisy also, which some of you mentioned. But genuinely, really, there's a likeness for Trinidadians and Tobagonians. Whenever you mention they are oh, yeah, Trini, and they have they kind of like they smile and they kind of greet you in a special kind of way. I don't think they do that with Jamaican because Jamaican have a snobbish kind of way or a kind of superior kind of way. Right? Trini laugh and talk. And in fact, the happiest country in the Caribbean, according to records, is the Trinidad people. You all know this. I think you know that. In terms of happiness of country, Trinidad rank very high. Trinidad and Tobago. I guess the carnival culture and the laugh and the fun that we have, everything is a joke for Trini. Make a joke out of everything, and maybe that's why
Yeah,
they like them so
we
much.
have a cool head. We have a
Yeah,
cool
they are
head.
like happy people. They make joke and they laugh and they like happy people.
Yeah, and if
So
you're vexed,
Trini like
your
so
makeup,
that's why the
your
Caribbean really
makeup,
like them.
yeah, your makeup. If you're vexed, I mean, even, I remember, if you in a long time, if you're vexed with somebody in Christmas time, they come and say, "Boy, let me take a drink," and then
Yeah,
yeah,
right.
they make
Yeah,
up some way or the other.
yeah.
But this younger generation is following a different trend, and them will kill their own family if they have to, because some of them could be high on drugs. They don't know what they're on, because some of the behavior, if you watch their behavior, it not normal at all. So the drugs can make you crazy, in one aspect, and so, but we have to create restraint, and the only you could pass all the laws you want, if you don't have the police enforcing those laws. You don't have the manpower, you don't have the resource, you don't have the response, you're not doing the patrolling, and these things. The law is not going to do anything, because you don't match up the law with these kind of resources, and the response has to be very swift. Our patrolling has to be effective, and we have to be very considerate to people calling the police for help. And we have to give police officers an ultimatum: is either you're police or you're a bandit. You can't be both. We have to be very serious about that. It's either you are a police officer, or you are a bandit. Make up your mind which one you want to be.
Well,
That's correct.
yeah, well, this young commissioner they have there is, if you don't get messed up, if you don't mess up himself, and he get to hooked up with the lords. There are some lords in Trinidad. You might know who they are. If you got up with the lords, and he do what he need to do, he could redirect attack. And anyone found X, Y, and Z will be so and so. I mean, listen, they have so much assistant. Look, Suzette, the girl. I read about her yesterday or something. They have 4 or 5 assistant commissioner, and you have, I think, 3 deputy commissioner. He have a lot of help around him. Some of you saying the commissioner has too much to do. That's a lie. Some of you saying that last night. That's a lie. He have a lot to do, but he doesn't have to do a lot. He was know how to delegate to whom he delegating, and because you maintain the responsibility, but you get the job done, delegate the duties, but you maintain the responsibility. You don't have to sign no application to sign for the commissioner. You could sign a million. Listen, these days is robo signing. You could robo sign. Listen, you all talking about have to wait so
Yeah,
long.
but
Last
you
night,
can't listen to me, Doc. You're a former policeman. The investigations has to be done. The application has
I
to be
commented that.
reviewed.
I commented that
Uh,
now. That's exactly what I'm going to say. So last night you heard the doctor from Venezuela what he said. They're getting these days you put your application in. The application could be vetted in 7 days times. Reject this one, accept this one, because if you base it about you say you have 10 application a month. You could reject 5,000 right away on reading and looking, say this don't qualify, and then you could start. So in a matter of a week you already have a handful of say, sort of 10,000, have 5,000 to go after. Then you start the process. You have a turnaround time in 31 days. That could be done. Then you go through the tracking of go to the interview, might take another 1 month. So let's say within 3 months you should have a firearm in your hand if you don't have a problem. Within 3 months, and it could be less, but within 3 months. So last time you all talked about that. I mean, that could be done. Trinidad is like 1.4 million people. I mean, you could process the application and in a week time you could get all the application done. These days they do it online quickly, so you did it 1,000 at a time. It's not like you had to wait in some station, you had to line up and come in, and then you take a fingerprint and then you go home, we go call you, you don't call, we would call you 1 year later, then they call you. And they say, well, are you still interested? No, not 1 year later talk. No. This must be done right away. The reason why we wanted to have a firearm was we want to make a dent on the crime in Trinidad. So the quicker you can have firearm, that would be one. That is not the only one, of course. Some of you mentioned this already. That is one aspect that we could keep our people safe. And that is the reason why we need to have a firearm. We don't want to have a firearm because we make you feel good. I want you to have a firearm because you feel protected. But if you can't, if not really protected, there's no take away the damn firearm back from you. And I was going to tell that sergeant, no, Senator Big, that no, it wasn't Big. I didn't know it was Dr. Rupchan last night. I was listening to Dr. Rupchan mentioning about
Dr. Ramrup.
sorry, Dr. Ramrup. Sorry, but I apologize, Dr. Ramrup. So he was mentioning last night about how crime of passion and blah blah with guns in the place and a gun. So he mentioned also, I think I heard him saying things like so a policeman come home and we had the gun in his hand and says his wife is having an affair, and so what he will do then. Well, my answer to him is to tell that wife that your husband has a gun, and if he come home and find both of us here, he will kill both of us. So I don't want you to come home here because your life would be in danger, my life in danger. So what about the plus side of it? Yes, you got time of passion, but that tells you that to stay away from me because I have gun and I am a police officer and I could come home. I come home, usually come home with my gun. At lunchtime, I come to have lunch. I don't leave the gun in the station and I walk in with it. I have the right to walk with it. So if you know that you have an affair, you know I have a gun, don't have no affair in my house, please. Go somewhere, so don't go nowhere, but I have a gun. So you must learn to fear the person who has a gun. And that's the theory. That if we know this house have a gun, we're not going there. And I don't want to also tell him that in the 1960s and the 1950s, my uncle, we grew up with gun, but my father didn't have, but my uncle had, and we live very close to each other. We go in each other's house like every five, we live in one house. And my uncle, when they passed the law that he has to have it locked up in a box, my uncle would be sitting down in the gallery, and you open that first room, and right there the gun right inside there, you could find it because it's there. You have it locked most of the time. It open because no, but it never occurred to us that we could take up this gun and go with it anyway. It never done. No, my cousins and ourselves, we never think about say we could take up this gun and go. And even when we get 15, 16, 17 years, that gun was never thought of to use to pick up and go anywhere. And my uncle, he will take it up and he'll go in the bush and he'll come back. And he has a broken one. I remember when he has broken because once he's loaded, he's ready to shoot. And he always broken because he always died. I think that's the rule or whatever. But it never occurred to him. I never hear him said a day, I'll shoot so and so. He could argue. In fact, he and my uncle fight. My papa, they're fighting and thing, but they're fighting and wrestling down. They have no gun and thing coming, no cutlass, no gun. They just, even they fight, he fighting on a fella down the road. He never said, go home and come back with my gun. Nothing. They fight hand, they gone home. It never occurred to none of them to say, the gun is for that purpose. The gun is to hunt squirrel and manikou and monkey, whatever, and bush, and that's what they got it. That's how they got it. Until 1960s, they started taking them back. The government, that same PNM government, said justify the reasons for having the gun, or else bring it to the station. I collect about a handful. I used to collect people bringing it in. They say want the gun, they bring it in. How many cartridges you had? They give it a record how many gun came in, and 5 cartridges came in. So the government start pulling in guns because people have guns to protect themselves and protect them, whatever you go. I mean, if somebody come into your house and you have a gun, what you going to do? You're not going to say, hold on, I'll go for the cutlass. Leave the gun there, going for the cutlass. No, you don't do that. You use the gun. So that's the automatic. That was the automatic thing. So no, we had guns in days gone by. We had guns. They took it away from us. That same PNM government took it away from us. We had guns in our house. We had guns. I mean, I couldn't get a gun myself to shoot. I had to get a guy down in Moruga to get some gun. I get the cartridge, but I couldn't get the gun. So I gave it to them to get to go and hunt, and I get my wild meat at Christmas time. I can't tell you more. That's all I can tell you. But you understand me drift. So the same about but if
You mean as a police officer, you could not get a gun?
no, you couldn't. You had to go through a big process. In fact,
No,
we never. It's a very rare we used to wear a gun. Like if you're going 999, you're wearing a gun. But normally you have a baton. You don't patrol with anything. But the girl who come from Washington D.C. tell me she feel very unprotected. She went to Bermuda or wherever she went, and this man have a piece of wood in his pocket. He can't defend me. And she says she was very scared because this police had a gun to protect. He got protect with a piece of wood. She said she frightened. Sure, because she has a gun culture. That's the gun culture. I gave me the gun the other day when I went to my cousins. I went down to Trinidad 10, 15 years ago, and I was going to the bush. And I say, give me. She didn't have a gun. I'd say, give me a gun. But no, she had to give me a cutlass. Like when I went to Texas, I was saying, give me a gun. They have a gun everywhere. So you could take my gun and walk, put it in the pocket and walk down and go wherever you want to go. But Texas is very lax in guns. I mean, I go to Florida. I have business in Florida. I never really look for a gun down there. I didn't think about it. I go leave it down there and come up here and live in New York. I'll leave the gun down there. I'm a little scared to leave a gun in a house with nobody there. So now I understand what Dr. Rambo was saying last night, but yeah, kind of reading a little too much into it, really. I mean, but we're not in that area. I mean, that kind of
but
area.
listen, Dr. Rambo is bringing the reality of things to you, right? You live in Trinidad X amount of years ago. You was a policeman X amount of years ago. Do you know that we had police officers who that was having real hell just to get a personal firearm under the PNM?
Oh yeah, of course.
Police officers.
Yes. Yeah.
Do you know that they gave Gary Griffith a very hard time stating somebody phone calls in an echo here. Can you mute your mic then until you're ready to speak? So for giving guns to people who are in the security forces, whether it's a police officer or whatever ranks you were in different division of the security forces, they try to make all kind of accusation. But we have a genuine issue. We still have to fix that, where police officers cannot get in a very hard time to get a sidearm. This is something that our government is going to deal with also. Because, I mean, I remember not too long ago, a police officer got picked up at the Piaco airport and on her way home, and she got shot. She was lucky to survive. I think she got shot in the head too, in the neck, and in a few places. She got shot. So beside giving the law-abiding citizen a hard time to get a gun, police officers were having a hard time to get a gun, off duty, and so this kind of a prehistoric colonial dinosaur kind of thinking, the times have changed, things have changed drastically around us. We're living in a very dangerous world.
Well, Gary, they could settle that easy, I don't know if I'm simplifying it, but you let me know. Ask yourself one question. If a policeman is on 24 hours duty, then he should be allowed to have his pistol 24 hours duty. Meaning, because the law is that if you are a police officer, whether you're on duty or off duty, and a crime happens in your presence, it's your duty to act, whether you're on it was your tour of duty or not. If that responsibility is still on you, then the obligation is for the government to keep you armed because you're 24 hours in service.
Especially in these times.
Right. If there's the case that you can only arrest when you're on duty, then you could take away the gun from them and say, well, you're not on duty, therefore you don't have to have the gun. So as long as you're asking the policeman to be 24 hours on duty, even when he's off duty, that the law is that he has to take action. If something happens in his presence, then he's supposed to have that first sidearm with him.
Yeah, but a policeman could never be off duty. You're a policeman, you're always a policeman.
That's the question. That's the point. That's the point I'm making. If it is that you want him to arrest 24 hours, 24/7, then you should allow him with his arm. These days in particular. And let me tell you something. Since 1990, Trinidad police work have changed. dramatically. So I have to separate that from 1990 till now and pre-1990. I mean, the next thing I was involved in 1970, but that was a different kind of thing, and that happened there and compared to what happened in 1990. So after 1990, I walked down to Port of Spain around 1999 or in 2000. I saw a good-looking Indian boy, well armed, like he has on uniform and a machine gun strap over his shoulder, and looking very serious. Although you look at him, he smile as though he know me somewhere. I don't know him, but he looked really ready for war. I mean, I could understand what happened after 1990. So this there, and Gary point is this there, as long as you're asking the officer to make an arrest, like I said, that woman who got shot in the neck, if she could have arrested the person if she know the person is about to commit a crime. Of course, she
No,
didn't know that.
arrested, she could have counterattacked the attack
If she had her gun
and
with her
defend
and
herself.
she could defend herself and whoever around her, not her alone, other people. So they have to weigh the pros and the cons. As long as they're asking the policeman to be 24 hours on duty, because the law is that if you're present and you didn't take action, you will be hauled before the disciplinary committee to state why you didn't take action when something happened and you were present, and everybody know you were there. Here's a photograph of you being present, and you ran away or you whatever. You had to take action as a police officer. That's what you swore to. That's what you're right. You swear I will be a policeman 24 hours a day, 24/7. I'm off duty, but you're a duty cop. I mean, you're a duty cop, but that doesn't mean you cannot make an arrest. You're a policeman. Once you're a policeman, you make an arrest. Whether you're sleeping, that drunk, sober, whatever you are, you still can make an arrest. So if that's the case, then Gary, I think that the policeman should be 24 hours, especially what happened from 1990 coming back. And now you have all these kind of problems even worse. So that should take care of that. That should answer your question. And the
I mean,
UNC government should look at it along those lines as well. And forget the PNA. PNA is a bad example. They have no moral standard to tell us anything in the world. Anybody in Trinidad, they have lost all credibility. And this leading to my last point tonight. I'll listen to you guys and after I finish the last one. Because forever since I've been talking about the mediocrity of the CARICOM countries, I listen to some of these people talking from the PNM side, and they're talking like they're from another country. They're talking that the prime minister is seeking the interests of Trinidad and Tobago. Yeah, you could be in opposition. I understand that. That's fine. But you cannot be saying what the other CARICOM countries are saying when you are in this situation. You should have keep your damn mouth quiet and let Pamela deal with them. And we could talk, but talk behind closed doors. And let she deal with the CARICOM people. Let she and them fight it out. And you could very well say that, okay, when I get into power, it will be different. But I don't agree with the prime minister, what she's saying, but this is her country, and that's how she's in charge. And therefore, whatever she says will go. Done. No, you had to jump on a side and say, well, you shouldn't do this and you shouldn't do that. And you shouldn't side with America. You should side with Grenada, who the hell. Side with Venezuela. And you're making things worse. I see. And here's why I'm saying all of this. Because I have an election to win in 4 years' time, Gary. And everything I watch, I weigh the consequence of that. If it is that the PNM is using this occasion to build public support, using the CARICOM affair and say they unfit, and don't be surprised to slip a little racial thing in between there and slip it, the undecided voters of Trinidad, all those 100,000 or the thousands who didn't vote, and who would be, you know what, this UNC did a mess, I'm motivated to throw them out. So I'm going down to the poll to vote to throw them out because they did everything wrong. CARICOM was real brothers and sisters. Who the hell is them people that they go tell me that CARICOM had to be second to Venezuela? CARICOM first, Venezuela last, and America is after last. So watch my point to you all. I'm consistent, Gary. I have an election to win in 4 years' time, or maybe 3.5 years. I had to start campaigning just now again. In 3 years' time, I had to start campaigning. I would want to make it sure everything I do counts when that time comes. So that is my objective. So all is called like a call to carry come. I have to keep my ears to the ground, looking at my Trinidad people and seeing where they are going to, how they're thinking. And you might find a lot of them coming up on the CARICOM thing that we CARICOM number one. A lot of them might say this kind of thing. And our UNC government is have a higher standard to prove themselves than the PNM. I mean, so many times Dr. Rambrook talked about, the institutionalized. He really meant that the standard for us to win is a little higher than the standard for the PNM. So we have to work twice as hard to go half as much. So all this discussion we're having, for even when Captain Sinkum and all of these things, and all of you here tonight, and the engineer and my AI friend, I don't know if you saw him here just now, and Gary, who's forever battling, have a long history of battling this Trinidad and Tobago situation. In 3 years' time, we're going back to the people to ask them for a vote, and those are the people that are important. The same with the gentleman who just responded to you just now, who started talking about drones and so on. Those are the voices I'm interested in, because those are the people I have to please in the long run, because I want to be in government for a long time to come. And not because I'm greedy for power, no, because I love my country and I want to see my country get better. And it must be the best. And if I can be the best, I'll bring all CARICOM up with me. The higher I climb, the faster they will come up with the greater they will also go forward, because I'm not leaving them behind. Help me to get ahead and I'll bring you with me. That's the theory. That's the principle. That is what we need to talk about. That is where we're going to win the next election. And we still have to satisfy people in Trinidad who feel that we are abandoning CARICOM for Venezuela and for more America. So why we lead America, we love America, we have to win the next election. And if that would help us, the love for America may not help us, it may help us or it may not. We got to have our ears to the ground, just like the people who are commenting on what we are saying, what we are doing, including those who are commenting on what the UNC is doing right now. A lot of people are getting angry for all kinds of reasons. Some is not founded, some is ill-founded, some is not, because the UNC not doing a good PR, somewhere along the line. But we have an election to win in 3 years' time again, and that is my motive. That is why I'm with you all tonight, and that's why I'm talking like this for so long, because I have an election to win. I haven't convinced people yet they'll give me a second chance on my way to do that, so help me. Good night, guys. So let me hear your rest of you. I had enough for tonight for the time being. Go ahead.
Our
Your
friend
turn.
Suman Singh is here, but
Yes, hi.
we before Suman speak, we have a prime minister has all good intentions and is on track of steering the government to deliver the highest quality of service and to uplift the people of Trinidad and Tobago. You could see clearly she's not destined to power because she won power. She demonstrated so in the last term of government. Everything that she put in place, we must remember this, to help the ordinary person to get ahead, the single mother, the children life fund. I mean, everything that she had put in place, was ripped away from those who needed it most. The laptops were needed to help the children so that they don't have to go looking, but put the tools in their mouth. Eric Lem said your future is in your book bag. Well, your future is in your book bag with a laptop these days, not the
Right.
books, right?
Not
We have
again.
so I mean, far as I see, we are heading all intentions in the right place. We do have a lot to get done, but let me give Suman a little chance here. Mr. Singh, welcome.
Sorry to be joining you guys so late, but
Oh man, Dr.
listen,
Maras covered good for you, man. He did good.
all right, but Doc always takes care of me, because when I bash the police and so on, I bash the bill yesterday. By the way, let me apologize on behalf of myself and the team. I said that the home invasion bill was weak. I didn't mean to say it like that, weak. What I should have said is that the home invasion bill, to make it more effective, should be supplemented by other things like the standard ground legislation to give it teeth. This is what I was getting after, not the legislation itself. The legislation is a legislation. There are penalties, blah blah blah, but to make it effective, to make that home invasion effective, you need to have the accompanying
Elements.
elements going forward in a number of areas, starting with the
All
legal
the
system,
resources, yeah.
the courts, the ability to catch the person. If you don't catch them, what use is the legislation? So that is what I should have said, and I deeply apologize for saying that the legislation is weak. It was not my intent to say it like that, but it came out like that. Anyway.
Well, let me just say one little thing on that before you walk away, because I don't like you apologizing like that. The proof will be in the pudding, so I would say the jury is still out on what you're saying, even though I know what you're backtracking. We are 2 years from now, ask the question again, and the yay or nay will come up. Go ahead.
That
sorry.
is the point. No, that is the point, Dr. Moraz. I like to see outcome. You tell me in 2 years' time, this should be the outcome, or we should aspire to this. Fine. Exactly what you're saying. But
No, not in 2 years, guys. 6 months down the line. No, again, the legislation was upgraded to upgrade your rights, so you're not under the duress of a psychological duress that if you defend yourself, this and that will happen. Because
the whole
number
common
one,
law.
you
The
kill a
whole
man in
common
your
law.
house, police want to lock you up regardless of the circumstances. That
Yes.
has to be clarified with the TTPS. The law has to deal with that. But we are dealing with people who couldn't care less what the law says. And you could write 10 books, 100 books of law. We need the other elements to enforce the rights of the citizen. And I think that's the point
Absolutely.
someone wanted to make. I mean, what do I do? I mean, we are still in limbo of getting an FUL. And that's that systematic disaster that we're dealing with in acquiring an FUL. Like I said before someone joined, even police officers are having issues. And that's something we have to fix quick. The citizenry needs to have easy access. We would have to implement, we have said it many times here, we have to put the training alongside the issuance of the FUL. So everything has to be accompanied, it has to be complemented. So the law needs to be complemented by other things. And what Suman should have really said, but that's what he meant.
And that is to make the legislation strong, to actually intend. Every legislation is supposed to have, and with that intent, as Dr. Maharaj is also saying, the crimes to a certain point in 2 years' time. That is the outcome. I want to see that. But how can you see that if you don't have the other elements going hand in hand? For example, a system should there be night calls specifically for home invasion and get the damn thing out in a month time to come to a conclusion? Or do you have it clogging up the legal system on the way forward, and 15 or 16 years down the road, then your case is now being tried? So the other elements have to go hand in hand, and most important is the FUL. Now, we see that when home invasion is taking place now, nobody comes with a knife or a hammer or a pickaxe or one of these, Bigfoot to open it. They come with machine guns, my friend. So what can you retaliate with if you do not have at least equal or superior weapons? I think a knife, you can fight them with a knife, you know. So
The bow and
it's
arrow. The bow and arrow.
bow and arrow, or as my brother used to, you always have this fishing gun, you know, the fishing gun by his bed headed, you know. But this is the thing. It has to have the accompanying elements to go along with the legislation. That is what is going to give it teeth. Because right now, I feel the legislation is good, but we want it much, 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 much better than what it is right now. Because if I have to defend myself, what do I have? I have to wait on Israel. Nobody's telling us how long that is going to take. It could very well be 2 years before, you know, 100 or 200 people get theirs. As Captain Singh said, it's 10 years he waited. So,
Wow.
10 years, 20 years for some people, and $20,000 or $50,000 according
right,
to some of
yeah,
the business people.
they got it
Um,
right away. They
but
want you to pay them money, you know.
Yeah,
we,
see, those are the same. So those are the same people I said, that same PNM government that took away the gun from my relatives and my neighbors.
so
Mm,
that's why you're
They,
dealing
they,
with PDL
they, they took
larceny
it
now
away.
in such a
They
large
don't want to give
scale.
it to you. They don't want the civilian to have any guns. Let
correct.
them be the mercy of the criminals. You see where their presence is. They are in favor of criminal people, and therefore victims is not
Port
their
of
number
Spain
one
saw that.
priority.
Port of Spain spelled that out to us. We
So,
discriminate against his constituents by increasing
so,
the rights of people to defend themselves. So he was trying to tell us that his constituents, he knows for a fact, is the ones that are committing these heinous crimes, right? And I mean, you know, they come in packs, you know.
Yes,
So now,
yes,
so okay, so a few things again. We need the FUL, we need the training, we need the backup from the police swiftly. So even though you might get in a gunfight, there might be 6 or 7 of them shooting at you, you will still need backup. So why are you trying to hold them off? Why are you trying to hold them off? A relative should be able to call and get the police to respond to assist you in the midst of that situation there. So these are the things I am looking for. Not just the FUL, not just the training, but the effective patrolling again and again, I'm going to say, and response from the police service that we on the job, we on target, and no mamagism, and deal with us in a civilized, effective, efficient way.
fair enough. That's great. That's we all
absolutely.
want that. And, you know, any legislation being passed, it must solve the problem. Eh? Just not to this home invasion. Part of it is really to debunk the criteria
Oh,
that
any
was
misinterpretation, it
enforced.
was carefully spelled out. It was
Yeah,
carefully
this
spelled out.
part is carefully spelled to debunk the criteria that is laid out in the common law aspect of it. Because where you have to aim, you can't shoot the guy in the back. You have to make sure you use appropriate force to apprehend the intruder and all this kind of thing. That's part of crap. When somebody comes to the house, is to neutralize him once and for all. It doesn't matter where you hit him, in his face, in his head, in the back, in the toe, wherever. So
So,
this.
someone when somebody comes breaks into violates your space, right?
Hmm.
You're physically and mentally you're a different person, right? Your heart
Yes.
is racing at a 300 beats per minute. You're
Hmm.
nervous. You're thinking about your family, and a million things rushing through your head
Hmm.
as far as how many guys are here. Do I have the capacity to handle all of them, right? So this thing with this draconian law with trying to aim and all this thing that goes out the window. You just have to
But that
empty the
was
clip and just shoot
that
and
was
just hit whatever you can hit. Head,
that's
foot,
right. That's
nose,
right.
eye, whatever, chest, back, you know,
Wherever,
and because
wherever.
that is a point where depend on how you either could make or break, and you can walk away with your
Hmm.
life, or you can lose
Hmm.
it right there, right?
Correct. Correct.
And everybody else could interpret the law how they want. But at that point, when that happens to you, that is survival,
Mm-hmm.
right? And any wrong move or hesitation could mean life or death.
Correct. Absolutely. And I have to give what gives me a 50-50 chance if I don't have, a gun in my possession. And you have 3 or 4 attackers with guns pointing at you, on your family in your living room at 2 a.m. in the morning. What do you do? What do you do if you do
Well,
not
well,
have?
yeah, well, even if you have three attackers and everybody has a cutlass and a knife, right? Three guys, no, four guys with a cutlass each, right? And you alone, you think you could ward them off? You need a gun, a firearm, to
Correct.
give you a fighting chance,
So
right?
this is the point I was trying to make all along. It was the same thing to make it effective, and so that in 2 years' time you could tell me, home invasion has fallen by 60%, or home invasion has fallen by 40%. Give me the data to tell me. Then you could say that, well, this is good law, it was effective, and this has led to so and so reduction. That is what makes it good legislation.
So,
But I,
so it's
It's definitely good law, but like, I mean, there is no mistake that is not good law. But again,
it has to be supplemented. It has to be
everything
it
that
has
has
to
to
be
supplemented
something.
complement the
with
law.
the Firearms Act and the
Mm-hmm.
Firearms
And
Yeah,
other things as
system.
well.
and that is where we need to shift to now. The law
Yes,
is settled, that foundation is there. We need to
correct.
move on with the
Yeah.
additional things that needs to be added there.
The other
And
components,
right, and and then we solidify everything there. But
Correct.
definitely, definitely.
but we don't have 2 years. Okay,
Right.
okay.
Let me see if
What
I
we
can,
need
right,
within the next 6 months,
yeah.
we want to see some kind of drastic improvement within the next
So
six months.
That
let me
is
ask you all
correct.
a question. Let me
Go
ask you
ahead,
all a
Doc. Go
question.
ahead, Doc.
Um, so most of us live in New York, in America. Why do you think home invasion? Let's say New York. I mean, Florida is a little different, but let's say another state. Let's say New York. Why it is that home invasion is not a popular crime here?
It is quite a bit in New York. You have quite a bit
Nope,
happening, Doc.
nope.
In fact, Queens
No
is not the
home
same
invasion. No,
anymore. Queens is
nope.
not quite the same anymore.
No, you might have a burglary, but you don't have home invasion.
Because you don't know whether the guy is armed or not, or has a.
Absolutely. That's this point I want to take back to Trinidad. In time to come, those bandits wouldn't know who have gone and who I have. So you know what? I ain't taking no chance. I had to be sure he had no gun. Then I go in there. Because I don't know in Trinidad who has gun and who doesn't have. You have to keep that a secret.
So
When you
no,
enter
Yeah,
the
that's why Dr.
premises, then
Maharaj
you
was saying, Dr. Ramru was saying, we have a village atmosphere where
mm-hmm.
everybody is known that is auntie and uncle living by themselves there, or how
Correct.
much children they have, and all this kind of thing. But here in America, I think Richard was making the point. Richard was making the point, Richard Sukdev,
no, yeah,
that
yeah, no. I don't. They might have a burglary, but home invasion because see they're not sure who America has so much gun all about the place. You aren't sure they want to come into your house because you entitled to kill them if they come into your house, and you might have gun, you might have whatever it is,
you might
so
have
they
a
will rob you on the
crossbow, you might
street.
have a sword, you might have a baseball
Right,
Yeah,
bat.
yeah.
you might have bow and arrow, like
Fishing
like
gun, man. Fishing
so
gun.
they don't come. Home invasion is a very low crime. Burglary maybe, but home invasion no, because you might have more gun when they come in. It's gun they're gonna meet. Many people in now New York City have illegal guns. They come there, so you go to a state and they come back. I mean, I go to Florida so often. I put a gun in my pocket and come back up here. I mean, it's illegal, but I mean, what I'm saying, I mean, want to defend your house because you want invasion. You better have this gun because illegal or not, you want to save your life. You better save your life and then have a face the
Let's
law
talk
after
about.
having an
Yep.
illegal gun
Yep.
than being killed. I prefer to have an
Mm-hmm.
illegal gun and save my life than being killed.
Judge White 12
So
done carried by
we don't know
six,
who have
right?
gun in New York and who don't have. Anybody could have.
Now things have improved here in New Jersey, right? And I think New York is facing is under the same jurisdiction, legal jurisdiction now, where it was easier to get the gun. There's not the hassle like how it had before. No, the only thing is now here, you have to take qualifying classes to qualify to carry the gun concealed.
Hmm.
Right? You could purchase here in New Jersey. You have to travel with the gun, dismounted. The rules, doc. Something in the trunk and something in the glove. You can't have both together. No. How do you defend that? That's another C9 kind of law here, because you get yourself in an incident, you're not prepared to defend yourself. Now the classes here in New Jersey, and I know New York has it too, is that you have to take those classes to get to pass for the concealed carry. You have to go to the range, you have to qualify in the range, and then you get recommended by the trainer, and that information is sent to the police department to continue the carrying part of things.
So let me go back to that point that Dr. Rambo made last night and that you just mentioned. So in a matter of time, everybody know who have gun and who doesn't have. Like we know my uncle had. We know the guy down the road. We know everybody in the village who had a gun. Like because after a while, a small village just spread around, so you get to know. Okay. One of the thing on that also is that if you invade my home and the neighbor has a gun, he could pull it out. And he could at least shoot in the air, shoot whatever, because he may not shoot the bandit, but he could shoot at them. I mean, shoot in the air, whatever. And you have go wrong start, let them go. You run away, drop your gun and run. Or you take up and where you had to go because you hear gunshot. You know where who you coming from. So your neighbor can protect you by he having a gun protect me also. Even though he may not have the right to kill the person in my place, he have a right to defend himself or myself. You could make up that after. But why the mere fact you're a bandit, you hear gun shooting off. And I'll give you the example of my uncle when they run him down. My cousin was driving the car and somebody, whatever bad drive happened. But when they try to pull into the garage and they block him. And then they start knocking the glass at one. My uncle pull out the gun and shoot two in the air. He shoot it in the air and every man take off and run, jump back in the car and run. He didn't have to kill anybody. The mere fact you hear this gunshot, you're expecting this to happen, bam, gunshot, they run away. Them didn't have a gun. What they had was whatever they hit into trying to break the glass. But my uncle pulled out the thing. And so that deterrence, the mere fact you have it is a deterrence. Not even using it, but the fear that you will have, you could use it. Is a deterrent by itself. That is why you see we're waiting. So you say 6 months in a time span of 2 years or so, we must have a dent in home invasion or even crime in general because of this law. And if the law is not enough, you could always do an amendment. You could an addition. You could tweak the law again. You could write a new act. Because to correct all might be solved by one act, one standard ground law. You might have to make an adjustment as you go along. That is fine.
Yeah, you see, Doc, what we need, right, is that, I mean, you should not be detained for at any point if you defend yourself in your home. Number one, right? That should be carefully, and I think we have
Right.
to go through the thing, right? So what we need dealt with here is that the fact that someone came in your house, you should not be arrested. You just question. You have to give a report. Or you have to give a report. Something happened, an incident happened. You give the report, and that should be it. I mean, any follow-up information they come back and ask you or whatever it is, but I mean, arresting you, taking you to the station, all these things, unnecessary. If they want you to come to the station, but the police should be able to take a report on scene. you know
Yeah. And now the bow and arrow discussion last night that we had there. I mean, the senator couldn't say he couldn't encourage that, but if in the meantime while I waited for my gun, whatever I have behind my door, tied up there, it could be a cutlass, it could be a bow and arrow, it could be whatever it is to defend myself and my property. I will have that until I get my gun. I know he couldn't say that last night, but that was my intention. I go have
yeah.
something to protect myself. It could be a baseball bat, some baseball bat. It could be a weapon, a homemade weapon. It could be a bow and arrow. It could be whatever I have to protect myself. While the time I'm waiting for the gun, I must, because the standard ground law gave me a little more privilege and more rights to defend myself and my property.
Well,
I
a
had
long time we say
burglary,
pui too. There's a say pui.
a
The
push
stick.
stick. Yeah,
Yeah.
that whatever you have, that's it. I mean, that's what you have. I mean, remember I always give you, I went down to Trinidad and I say, I called we call her baby, and my cousin. I say, baby, give me a cutlass day. I want to go down in the bush. I want to go, but I never been there for a long time, years. I don't know what I will meet. She gave me the best cutlass she had, a nice I call her gilpin, a nice machete. I go now with that. I feel a little comfortable. At least I had something in my hand. I couldn't go bare hand. If I didn't get a baseball bat, it would have do, but I prefer the cutlass, really. Because that's the best. That's
Well,
the
you
weapon
could
of
take the
choice.
cutlass and cut something in the woods too, and make something there
You
while
could
they're
do
out
a
there.
lot of stuff with it. You could. We had some dog or something, or some animal in the bush might run out and grab my foot or something. I could peel a chop or so, that kind of thing. So I feel consoled, and I feel a little more braver when I have this piece of cutlass in my hand. I feel more protected.
Yep.
So having a gun, I'd be better off. Definitely a gun. But they don't
Yeah,
have
so I
guns.
mean,
That's why.
our laws are prehistoric, and we need to upgrade drastically on that aspect of things. You know,
Definitely.
Upgrade what you said? What's that?
it's prehistoric laws, it's dinosaur laws. We have to upgrade,
Oh yeah. Of course.
upgrade to suit the times. You know,
Yeah.
but you know, we will get the opposition. But anyway, you know, the good thing about we have enough majority there to deal with it. Mr.
Yeah.
Singh, you all right there?
Yeah, cool, man.
All right, so I think we should wrap up because Mr. Singh like he ready to nap out.
No, 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 no,
You
no,
good?
no.
All right, so
Yeah, well, Gary, we could always get Captain Singh and discuss the rest of the stuff with the regards to the headlines and whatnot. So
yeah, definitely. I have
Yeah, but don't forget what I'm telling you all. Have your ears to the ground and watch the mood of the people, because even though you might be correct, you might correct to this UNC groundwork, but in terms of the non-committed population, you always want to see what are they thinking. Because if everybody think that this is a wrong thing to have put up this thing in Tobago without having a kind of having a study before you did this thing, and you overnight you put this thing behind the back there, and they mightn't like that very much. You might find them voting against the UNC. I'm just saying to think how to think about these things. So all of these things might be fine, but like I'm saying, our whole or everything we're doing here, everything you all be saying here, is only one thing that counts. 5 years from now, you want to be back, or everything we're doing here is a waste.
definitely.
So that is the number one objective. I think I talk a lot tonight. So I just said so many one here, but I held the fort for you, as Gary said. But we miss you anyway. We miss you. There's no second summit here. There's only one summit.
See it as it is. Okay.
Good night, Ken.
All right, guys. Good night, Mr. Dr. Raj. Suman,
so
good night.
I just have a
Thank you,
couple of
guys.
clips there. You guys are gonna hold on for a minute. I have a couple of clips here. Let me see if
All right, no problem.
yeah. There's a couple messages that I just wanted to play here. One was let's see. One is basically for we over here.
Also are saying that if you voluntarily want to go home now to your country, if you're in this United States of America illegally, we will give you $3,000 through the holidays to send you home. We'll buy you a ticket, give you $3,000 to go home, and that includes people that have not been detained, maybe have interacted with us, are detained and don't have criminal charges against them. Yeah, raise your hand. We'll help you get home. We'll facilitate it, and you might get the chance to come back to this country the right way someday. If you wait until we interdict you and detain you and arrest you and have to deport you ourselves, you'll never get the chance to come back.
This is a real soca parang, alright?
There's one more clip. Hold on a second. Let's see.
Sad news here in the Beetham this morning. The body of 29-year-old Brandon Jessup was just located just on the Beetham South area in the vicinity of the Beetham wastewater facility. We are standing here with his mommy, and the body was just located. And so this here marks the initiative as announced by Police Commissioner Alistair Guevara, where on certain areas we would partner with the police service so that we could bring closure to families. And today really is an indication that this partnership is working.
So here we see,
Doesn't get enough credit
everyone
for
is
what they do.
everyone is being affected by this crime situation. So we'll pick up tomorrow night if you guys have any time,
Definitely.
gentlemen. All right then. Good
Okay,
night,
guys.
everybody.
Good night. Good night.
Walk with your own
Good
drinks.
night.
Nobody walk with the drinks.
Yeah, I was just having mine just now.
Right. Tomorrow might be the last night for
All right.
the Christmas. I don't think we're doing Christmas Eve. So walk with your own drinks.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Have a
No,
good night.
All
Take
right.
we're
care.
going Dutch.
Bye.
That's
Strictly
right.
Dutch.
Yeah.
Good night.
Okay, guys.
This is a real soca parang, alright? So I want everybody to get together and do something nice. Lesson, you ready? Let me go! It's painting time! I take some time off from me work to help me wife clean up. Me paintbrush I can't find it. The neighbor don't have it. Immediately I went down by she. Told her want me paintbrush please. I want me brush. Give me brush. I want me brush. Give me brush. I wanna paint the living room. I wanna paint the bedroom. I wanna paint the kitchen. I wanna paint everything. I want me brush. Give me brush. I want me brush. Me same old brush. Yeah, man.
We're also closely following tonight developments surrounding Venezuela. A U.S. official telling CNN the United States is pursuing a vessel in international waters near Venezuela. Now, it's understood that this tanker was sailing toward Venezuela to pick up oil when U.S. Coast Guard personnel attempted to board. The vessel itself is under U.S. sanctions for links to Iranian oil. And this is the second vessel targeted this weekend by the Trump administration. All of this, of course, coming after President Trump this week announced a total blockade, in his words, of sanctioned oil tankers into and out of Venezuela as he looks to ramp up pressure on its leader, Nicolas Maduro. Joining me now, CNN Global Affairs analyst Kimberly Dozier. So, Kim, when we look at what is happening here, the U.S. is really focusing on this pressure point of oil for the Venezuelan economy. How would you assess that as a strategy based on what we're seeing?
Well, at least it doesn't bring up the outrage that hitting the alleged narco-terrorist boats does. The actions of seizing a vessel with sanctioned oil on it, it's something largely recognized in international law. It's something that the U.S.'s European allies would like the U.S. to be doing to Russian Ghost Fleet oil tankers. But what it does is also ratchet up the financial and economic pressure on Maduro and on his allies, like Cuba. This oil is often headed to Cuba, which either uses it, I believe, for free, and what it doesn't use, it sells on. So it's a lifeline both for the Venezuelan regime, because Maduro uses it to pay for the security forces and all the people who help him stay in power. And then it helps allies like Cuba also stay in power with regimes that are thought to be not so democratic.
And in terms of, as you point out, in terms of how it's being received, certainly more well received, as you point out, than the targeting of these alleged narco-terrorists. Is it also in many ways a more effective pressure campaign that sort of buys the administration a little time as well? We know the president has teased there could be further intervention, potentially on the ground, but this would seem to put a pause on that.
Well, what it does is hopefully try to ratchet up enough pressure on Maduro that if President Trump decides to take military action, say in the form of aerial strikes, the kind of thing that he ordered against Iran, that Maduro would be in a fragile enough state to actually want to leave power. The American public is largely against the idea of a military invasion, according to multiple major polls, though that is split with Democrats and independents on one side, and most of the Republicans apparently favoring some quick strike. The problem with quick strikes is they might not work. And if Donald Trump decides to strike Maduro with some sort of air operation and Maduro still stays in power, that makes Trump look weak. So in the interim, while he buys time before such a strike, by grabbing this oil, it will hopefully, from the strategy perspective, take the support away from Maduro and make him consider options like perhaps fleeing to an ally like Moscow.
Perhaps not surprisingly, Republican Senator Rand Paul is really pushing back on this pressure campaign from the administration. Here's a little of what he had to say, specifically addressing the seizure of oil tankers.
I consider it a provocation and a prelude to war, and I hope we don't go to war with Venezuela. Look, at any point in time, there are 20, 30 governments around the world that we don't like that are either socialist or communist or have human rights violations. We could really literally go through a couple dozen, but it isn't the job of the American soldier to be the policeman of the world.
There is some concern about what could happen should Maduro be forced out of power. What would be left there on the ground and the role that the U.S. would be expected to play there. Is it your sense that that has been sort of thought through and gamed out by the administration based on your sources?
Well, of course, the administration hopes that if they got Maduro to leave, that someone like Maria Machado, who just won a Nobel Prize and is a popular politician in Venezuela, would take office. But Maduro leaves behind a military network and also an insurgency network, armed gangs across the country that could make it very hard to stabilize that country. Or worse, for Trump, he could try to take some sort of action and yet Maduro prevails. So he's really in a rock and a hard place situation. If he does launch something, though, it can become a Vietnam-like situation. That might sound like an exaggeration, but, it looks easy from the outside. But once you invest a little bit and that doesn't work and then you invest more, all of a sudden you can find yourself in a situation, an armed conflict where there's no way to get out and declare victory. And that would start to turn Trump's own base against him. They don't want to see any return to a forever war.
No, and he has certainly said that he does not want to be involved in one either, so we'll be watching that as well.
Is this an effective way for the U.S. to put pressure on the Maduro regime to target these vessels or, come in close and seem like they're about to intercept them?
It's a dramatic escalation, there's no question, and I do think it's an effective way to pressure the regime. It also shows that a lot of the activity
And you know something else? I don't think people know this. Over 350,000 Trinidadians and Tobagonians hold U.S. visas. Over 350,000 Trinidadians and Tobagonians hold what? A U.S. visa. Why? Because people like to go and visit the United States. How many of you going to other parts of the world? I won't name where. Over 300, Philip, did you know that? I checked and I found out over 350,000 trainees. And they use this visa not to travel once, but they use it multiple times. Several times some people travel. So why you bad-mouthing the people? You want to go in the people country, but you want to bad-mouth them. Isn't that hypocrisy from some? And careful you don't end up like Antigua and Barbuda and Dominica, who bad-mouthed in the US, and guess what happened? All their visas restricted now. They've cut their visas. Which Trini wants to cut their visas? So behave yourself. Understand where our help comes from. Understand who could protect and defend Trinidad and Tobago. Right now, there's only one country in the world can do it. They have the money, they have the equipment, they have the assets. I've been working so hard. I have to go home and make some black cake. I have to go and put up some decorations. I have to make some pastel. I'm famous for my pastels.
That would be my question.
Yeah.
What are your plans for the Christmas?
Those are some of my plans.